Chelsea lined up in a 4-3-3 formation, with Mendy in goal, a back four of Chilwell, Silva, Zuma, and Azpilicueta, Jorginho sitting as the lone defensive midfielder in a midfield three, alongside Mason Mount and Mateo Kovacic as the two number 8s. In the front three, Timo Werner and Hudson-Odoi played as the two wingers, and Tammy Abraham played as the central striker. Rennes also lined up in a 4-3-3, with Gomes in goal, a back four consisting of Traore, De Silva, Niamzi, and Truffert, a midfield three with Nzonzi as the lone defensive midfielder, with two number 8s alongside him in Camavinga and Bourigeaud, and a front three with Doku and Yasiliki as the two wingers and Guirassy as the lone central striker. Now let's take a look at how the game played out. Chelsea won the game 2-1 with goals from Hudson-Odoi, Guirassy, and a late winner from Olivier Giroud. Although Chelsea did end up taking all 3 points, the game was actually pretty balanced, as reflected in many of the match stats such as possession, shots, and pass accuracy. Chelsea did however end up creating the better chances, as indicated by their expected goals figure of 2.19 compared to Rennes' 1.26 expected goals. Now looking at the defensive stats, Chelsea had significantly more interceptions, aerials won, and clearances. This is partly due to the fact that Rennes looked to create goal-scoring opportunities from many crosses into the box. Chelsea also had to defend significantly more corner kicks, as Rennes were awarded 11 corners compared to Chelsea's 3. Although Chelsea lined up in a 4-3-3, out of possession this morphed into a sort of 4-5-1, with the two number 8s dropping slightly deeper and the wingers tracking back. Hudson-Odoi in particular tracked back very deep, acting almost as a right wing back to help Azpilicueta in defense. This worked quite well as it diffused most of Rennes' attacks from that side of the pitch. Timo Werner on the opposite wing also tracked back to an extent, but not as deep as Hudson-Odoi. Instead, he tracked back to about as deep as the midfield line, as he always was looking to use his pace to make runs in behind and create goal-scoring opportunities whenever Chelsea regained possession. During their build-up play, there were 3 main ways Chelsea's players positioned themselves in order to progress the ball. One way was by pushing both fullbacks very high and wide, and having the two wingers tuck in slightly. Here the number 8s would drop off deeper to help receive and progress the ball from defense. The second way Chelsea's players positioned themselves during build-up was by having the fullbacks drop deeper and more narrow, while having the wingers move into wider areas. Here the number 8s would push forwards and take up the spaces between the lines. The third, and least used, is a sort of mixture of the previous two. Here the fullbacks push slightly up and wide, although not as wide as in the first scenario, while the wingers tucked in slightly. One number 8, usually Kovacic, would drop deeper to help Jorginho progress the ball from defense. The other number 8, usually Mount, would push forward into the space between the lines. Here he would look to make runs and take up the spaces to either side of the central striker. In attack, Chelsea had to find ways to break down a Rennes side who sat deep in a 4-4-2 and tried to compress the spaces between the lines. In the front three, Chelsea striker Tammy Abraham would stay central while the two wingers alongside him, Werner and Hudson-Odoi, looked to operate and make runs into the half spaces. Here they would look for opportunities to shoot or for a cutback to another player in a better shooting position. Chelsea also looked to create numerical overloads by pushing the fullback up and having the number 8 drift to the side up with the ball. These overloads created passing triangles and allowed for better ball rotation. Although both fullbacks generally played high up the pitch, one would always sit back slightly if he saw the other making an advanced run. This is done to prevent being completely caught out by a counterattack in the event of a quick turnover in possession.